Howdy folks, so just brought home this 1940 Chev sedan. She's a little bit rough, but you know, it's beaten all to hell. It's got the roof out of it, floors are out, something's been living in it, it's been sitting in a garden for years, but most of it's still here. So I'll get all this crap out of it and see what we got. Howdy folks, thought I'd give you a bit more of a look around the 40 Chevy. So I'll actually pull back a bit here if I can. There we go. So yes, if you saw the first little video, you'd have seen that it was all complete when I brought it home on the trailer. I've since taken the guards off and the doors and most of the glass out. It's still got the windscreens in it. Basically this guard was all just crushed in flat to the car. In fact, whatever ran down the side of the car even peeled back the gutter. So it's all very heavily rusted, as you can see, all the way around the arches, all the inner tubs, right through both seals, up into the cow. This front guard's pretty cactus, the other one's not too bad. The floors are all gone, all the way through. Roof's all gone. However, so the pillars and surrounds are all fairly good. But then again, howdy folks, back on the 1940 Chev. I thought I'd give you a bit of a look around. I have pulled it apart. As you can see, there's almost more light than there is steel in some of it. So yeah, all gone all through the guards, all through the seals, of course, all the floors, these inner sections, bottom of the cow, up the top of the cow, so stand back a bit. So I pulled all the guards off, stripped it down, pulled the doors off. Interesting thing about this car is it sat around in a very public place for a long time. It's probably sat around at Willow Court Antique Centre in the garden there for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I reckon. And I noticed that it had a full chassis under it, which is why I wanted it. And I grabbed it and brought it home, and I'd always wanted to build a long sort of two-door Lincoln Zephyr style car. And turns out that this is a pretty good foundation. However, so I wanted to show you guys how I go about doing a chop and turning this into a two-door long tail, long boot, long turtle deck sort of style, or a long roof style tail dragger Irid two-door. However, I have to fix all this rust first, because all of this is where the body mounts go. So if you look at the seals, there's one body mount, another one, that one only actually sits there, but that's bolted on, that's bolted, and this is another one. You can see it sitting here. So all of this and the guard and the seal needs to be done. And then, as you can see, I've got some bracing in there. Once I've got the seal and all of this sort of consolidated down the bottom, then I can think about moving pillars, chopping the roof all off, bringing the doors in and setting up my quarter window, and my door the way I want it. I'll show you how I go about working out that chop and what it's going to look like. But for now, I have to fix all of this before we can do that. Uh-oh. So, that is the start of the first seal, which will come up to replace this one. Oh, I don't know if I can really manage it with one hand for you, but essentially this will go in there. Oh yeah, so she's had a very hard life. Someone picked it up at some point with slings that they've put around the chassis and up through the hole in the roof and crushed it in. So you can see that this is torn away and this is pleated up in here. So it's I'm not going to probably use most of that roof or any of it, to be honest, or any of this back end. So all I'm really looking at consolidating for now is the sections of guard and the seals, and then I'll worry about how much of the rest of it I'm actually going to use. Doors were actually complete with glass and fully seized, so getting the glass out's been fun with the mech seized. I still haven't got it out of the front doors. The back doors are stripped out. I'm going to try and match this angle here once this gets chopped. This is actually a much more reclined angle on the windscreen than on the back door. This angle here on the back door is much steeper, so I'm going to lay this in and try and get it to match something like, I don't know if you can see it in the chalk, but something like this, and maybe a quarter window shaped into the body. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a bit of a tape line there of some idea maybe of where the body line will come down to. Alright, cheers folks. Alrighty, some more on the 40 Chev. As you can see, it's quite pulled apart now. So I've made up new seals to go right through on both sides, and I had to make up new mounts. These are body mounts at the back, cross membrane body mount in the center, front body mounts down here, and there's another floor cross member that goes through here, which I've got out at the moment. So yeah, that gives you some idea of where I'm at the moment. You can see these guards, there's an extensive amount of work in them, on the inner tubs rather. I probably should have just made new ones, but anyway. So I've got that one all cut in and tacked up. And all needs welding off, and then this one is just overlaid. I need to go back through all of that now and cut in all the patches, but it gives you an idea of how bad they were. Anyway, this video series is going to be about chopping this car into a two-door. Pull back a bit. So it's not really about the rust repairs. I just thought I'd give you a bit of a look as I'm moving along with them. As you can see, this is the one that's all tacked up. The whole, you can pretty much see the tape line, the whole car will be chopped off at the top anyway. So what I'm really trying to do is consolidate all of this bottom work. As I said, these mounts, I had to get everything rebuilt on the mount so as it holds the body. Now I'll come through and I'll fix up the pillars, the cow. Obviously I still have to do the other guard. And then it's pretty much time for me to talk to you about how I'm going to tackle a chop like this and what design we're going to go for. So I'll keep slugging away at the rust, and then yeah, as I said, when I'm ready to start cutting the roof off, we'll talk about how I'm going to go about it. All right, I've nearly got everything consolidated in the way of the major rust through the seals and guards. And so it's time to start thinking about chopping. What I've got taped on here is a rough idea of what I'm thinking of doing. So what you can see, that's about a 4.5 inch chop at the front. And then I'm going to sweep the roof line all the way down to the back in this view, and then in the bird's eye view, hopefully it will, if I can draw in the dust, it will curve in something like this. So yeah, that's the general plan, but by changing the angle, basically I wanted to make, if I can come over here, this angle and this angle match. Now I haven't taped it perfectly, but to do that, obviously, there's so many ways we can two-door and chop this car. I could keep the standard pillar, I could bring it down and just have a square pillar, bring in the quarter window and have a little section, and it would look a lot like that. That is by far the easiest thing to do. By taking this pillar over here and this angle and bringing it over to this door, that is actually, and using this shaped quarter window, is what the factory two doors have. And this angle, whoops, this angle here is not the same as this angle here. And when you bring it down, it becomes even greater. So by doing this and by bringing it down as low as I'm going to, I have to redo all the angles on all of these door tops, and the quarter windows will all have to be sort of handmade and fitted in. So I'll take you for a walk around the other side. I've started playing with one of the doors. Oops, I nearly tripped over. See if I can step back far enough here. So, as you can see, I've lengthened this door 5 inches. I'll reskin the whole bottom of it later on. I'm not worried about that at the moment. And for that matter, everything is just tacked in there to see if I've basically got the shape that I want. So to get a matching angle here to here, and basically get an even shaped window, I've had to cut the back out of this. I had to cut the top off it. This was square, so I cut all the back out of it, and then you can see, if we get up close, all the shrink or stretch marks, just by putting it in the vise and forcing it out a bit and then shrink or stretching the edge, I was able to get it to come back. This one actually has a radius all the sort of way around, and this one doesn't. I haven't got this in the right place at the moment. This needs to come forward a little bit, and then I'm going to put a piece of 3mm electrode, like just a normal arc welding electrode, get a 3mm one and knock all of the flux off it and weld it down this edge here, just to give me a little bit more meat. Then I'll be able to grind it to match, because this is slightly narrower than all of the rest of it. So by filling this in a little bit and then grinding it, I should be able to get a nice even radius in that door. You may have seen on the other side, I drew this as a circular door. I don't know if I'm going to go that far or not. It's a lot of work. But yeah, it gives you a general idea of where things are. And yeah, I should probably put a tape line on here. See if I can work this angle out. But if we come up on the level, I think and look through, I'm pretty close there. Yeah. So the back, all of this will go, and we'll have a smaller humped boot that comes in to more of a boat tail, I suppose. Okay. Oh, this is something maybe that you might find interesting. When I initially extended this door, rather than just sort of cutting it in half and pulling it apart and having to put braces or something across it, or a new skin on straight on it to try and get it out to size, I cut it down here and across here and down here, so as when I slid it out, my 5 inches, I could just weld it here and at the bottom, and then I had my nice square door, and I just had to come off with my infills in later, which, as you can see, that one's not quite straight. I think he's dented in here, but as I said, it's all just tacked together. So all right, I'll keep chipping. Alrighty, so I jumped ahead a little bit again. Let me pull back on this a bit, and I think you saw me piece together the doors and the quarter windows. So now I've just taken 110 mils out of the front pillars and dropped that back roof out of there. Now obviously I'm not going to be using chunks of this roof, or hardly any of it probably is. Some of the radiuses might be usable, but yeah, so oops. As you can see, the roof's only just sitting there. So now I will cut this window out. First of all, I'm going to put a couple of braces across it, and I'll cut the window out and then move the window up to where I want it. When you get out here, we can get a bit of an idea on that angle. You can see the piece of yellow tape is where we're headed. So now I have to work out my roof line. Something kind of sinister about this hunchback at the back. Not that it'll be staying. Howdy folks. Another part on the Chevy build. So last time you saw her, I had chopped the roof and sunk it down in. I've now chopped up the roof. That's the back window sitting there. The front window's up in the workshop further. And I've cut the boot section completely away. So now we can get an idea of where I'm going. So this is going to boat tail boot, and then these guards will sweep up into it, and we'll do something wavy along the back here. I want that tail to stick out a little bit and the guards to stick out a little bit, and it to curve in between. So this is where I go from here. I've made up a bunch of these. They're just crash, bang, nearly got the supervisor. Did that hit you, Rollo? No, it didn't fall down there. It's still up there. So these are just 30mm right angle bends, and then I'm shrinker stretching them with the kick shrinker here to get my shapes. So like I could have gone and bought a heap of 6mm rod and sort of bird caged the whole thing and made a buck for my roof, but all of the internal structure that normally sits in behind here and forms the line for the roof to weld to was either rusted away too badly for me to use, or it had to be cut away because I changed the angle of all of these windows, the radius rather, and opened them up. You couldn't do it with the structure on the inside. So that structure I'm talking about, take a walk up here. So here's the front window cut, which, as you can see, I've got a chunk of rust repair to do in here on that internal. And this is what I'm talking about. This was the internal structure that ran all the way along the top of those windows and everything. And it's rusted out on that in it. Might be easier to see on this one. Yeah. So this top piece and this piece is what I'm making up here out of these angles. So this will replace all of that. Basically I make this one, which will trim in to the inside, and then I'll make up the opposite of that, which will come across here and form my box section and weld all back in to the inside of the lip, which I will continue right down to wherever my boot is going to start and finish, and then I'll triangulate that in and plate that in on the inside. So if we imagine we're coming down this one, the roof line will come down here somewhere, and I'll plate that back into that corner, so that's all nice and strong. And the inside one, of course, will come down and weld to all of that lip along the inside there. So, or at least that's the plan. So, and then the boot section I'll shape up. These will be actually up here somewhere, not sitting down where they are now. The roof line will be up here somewhere. So, anyway, I'm just pick away at those for a while until I can sort of try and work out that frame for the roof and the boot line, and then I'll worry about coming back to the doors and windows and finishing off all of that sort of stuff later. I want to sort of get this line worked out where everything's going to go, and yeah, and then get the guards back on and sort of look at the whole picture before I go welding it all off and finishing things out. So just working my way along, all this stuff for the 40 Chev, pull back a bit there, and consolidating everything up to this point so as I can go ahead and start building the roof. I've got most of the inner guards all welded up and in, most of the shape back into that guard. Pillars are A's and C's are all welded into the seals. I can get my hand in here. Sorry, being an idiot. Let's reach over and grab it. So, yeah, so all down through the lowers is now all welded off. Same with the body mounts, and I'm just trying to, because obviously I said to you I reshaped all of these door tops, so trying to get that all consolidated, whoops, and all these angles here right with the latch, and the latch on the B pillar. And once I get this set up exactly as it's supposed to be, then I'll lock the B pillar in place. So around the front I've done a heap more in the lower section of the cowl. I've done these corners of the cowl. I've taken the engine and gearbox out. I ran the wire brush over the firewall the other day and it was really cool. There's the old factory paint underneath. So 1940-12, so I'm guessing that's probably December 1940. I could be wrong, could be the 12th body they did. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it's December 1940. So yeah, again, all this lower section, whoops, in here. And this piece up in here, which I haven't welded up yet, but those two big holes are sort of all done. So I've got that other door there. I'm going to finish off the top of that, get it back in here, as I said, and then I can lock those B pillars in place and weld them off, brace between them. So once I've got those all correct and the angles and the sweep around the side here, so I get this angle right. So once I've put it all together, I'm actually, I don't know where I've put it now, but I had a piece of steel I was tacking on the outside of the body and pulling the door and the pillar and everything out so as it all lines up. I'll do that both sides and then plumb bob down the center and measure out to each pillar to make sure that I'm equal and symmetrical. I don't want this one, you know, 20 mils further this way than this one. And obviously we want the angles and everything to fit the same. And when that's done, then I can weld the windscreen frame in place and start working on these pieces, which will form the rest of the frame for the roof. It's not exactly where it goes, but essentially it will continue on down the back here, and I can build my roof in here, and then I can worry about what I'm doing with these guards at the back. I got the paint and crap off the front guards, so they're ready to do some welding on and some hammering on. Yeah, so I've got this back here now. As you can see, I'd cleaned the other one up, so now I'll go through and clean all this one up, fix up spots where this section was out of the rear door, this section's out of the front door, and they're a different size, as you can see there. So yeah, that all needs blending in. I need to finish off some of these blends around here. Put the latch back in so as I can do the same thing and hinge this one. And yeah, once that's hinged and the latch is catching and the B pillar's all in the right place and everything's going to close up and line up, as I said, I'll zap it all together and we'll start bringing the roof line in. I did pull the engine and gearbox out. Gearbox is okay. The engine was seized in every possible place and way, from the valves to the lifters to the pistons to the crank to the cam. Everything was locked up in it, so much so you can't turn it to access all the bolts that you need to take it apart in a normal procedure. So instead of having it on an engine stand and having it all apart, I was battling with it on the floor, because you've got to turn it upside down to get at some bolts and then back over to get at the other bolts. Yeah, interestingly. So the bell housing bolts on, there's two on the outside, but then there's two in here behind the flywheel. So the flywheel has to come off before the bell housing can come off. But when you can't turn it to get at the bolts, that's quite tricky. Anyway, that's where it's up to. I've just been playing with the grill, making up a few bits. There were a few bars missing, so I had to make up some of this. All right, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Okay, so I finally got the cabin all squared up, pillars in the place that I needed them to be, and the windscreen in the place that I needed it to be, or the windscreen frame rather, which allowed me then to start working on these frames for the roof and the window sides. So these will all be checked in and butt welded flush, and will become part of the side of the car, at least on this, at least on this upper section here, and then when we get down here we'll blend through here somewhere. So I just started making the back end up. I was going to do it all dished in. I'll come back. So if you can imagine this being dished and then coming back up, but with it dishing and then as it sort of comes back up and transitions, I was having trouble sort of really working out what I wanted to do there and how I wanted that to happen, and I decided, I'll pull back a bit, that I just liked this more. So you can see the wires I've got in here, there's a whole bunch still underneath the steel here. Basically they're just cleaned off electrodes. I couldn't find anything else rigid enough, and yeah, so I was just able to, actually we can snap that off. So there you go, you can see the series of them. They've actually fallen down a little bit because I didn't weld them or anything else. I really just had them there for a paper template to get me a ballpark. Yeah, and then I just cut it out and went for it. Sometimes you can overthink it. Muck around making lots and lots of framework. So, as we go in here, the next piece obviously will transition us through and into this piece I started prepping up for the window. Again, all of this will all sort of be cut in flush, so it'll all become one plane, and all the offcuts will be removed from the back. So I can get up there. Yeah, so somehow it'll roll over here, as I said, or not somehow, like those wires are. Yeah. And once I get these sads in and it all locked in place, and basically I'll make up all of these pieces, get them all sitting roughly where they need to be, and then I'll take the whole thing off, drop a plumb line down through the center of the car and just measure at increments and make sure I am symmetrical and in the center here. I mean, look, I've made all the pieces off flipped templates, so, and I've plumbed everything up in the center line back to about here, but this bit back here, they were made to match and then separated and put out, and but yeah, I haven't put the plumb line in and checked. And every time I don't do that, I find I'm out somewhere. So yeah, I come back to the plumb line down the center of the car, and yeah, all right. Alrighty, let me pull back a little bit if I can. There we go. So today's the 18th, 10 days to go. I've just finally sort of consolidated my shape and my frame. I had heaps of other things going on around the property and other friends' cars and things, so I really haven't done a lot. But I've turned all the paper templates into panels. There are a whole bunch of them lying around everywhere. Just etched up the insides of them so as I can now put them all on and know that I've got paint all up inside everything. So I've got a bunch of the stuff made up and tacked in. And now it's time to sort of come back through and try and get this roof and all the rest of it in. Then there's still work to do on the guards and everything else, but if I can get the basic concept of the car together, hopefully in the next 10 days, yeah. And we'll see where we're going. Alrighty, I've got to get into it. So just working on the boot here. This framework in. Up here, this will be our join. The new skin will go across here. This is just a brace. The new skin will wrap over here for the boot. And yeah, still have to get those top pieces rolled. Get a hand with that. And so after I build this boot, I can go on to the doors, excuse me, and hang the front clip back on and the rear guards and work on those. Howdy folks. 5 days out from my wife's birthday, and I'm just trying to get a body together at this point. I'm not going to get it all welded off, but if I can get it all together and tacked together, I'll knock the tacks down and put it in primer. At least it'll be something to show. So I'll give you a look at where I'm up to. Let me pull back a bit. There we go. So got the boot all sliced in and together. It'll all be flushed in on all of these seams, with the exception of the middle one. The middle one is going to be a ridge line that stays, but everything else will get welded up. All of these seams and all the edges all get fully welded, just not right now. I welded up I think I counted 18 22 caliber bullet holes in that guard and pulled it all back into shape mostly just now, and I'm just working on this one. So as you can see, there's a large portion of this one missing, and what is here is heavily damaged in this lower section. So I'm not worried about these few dents. That will beat up once I get all of this done. This, of course, if you can see it, reverse curves all the way around here. So whilst that, you can see I've made the inner piece. We've got old redneck clecos in there for now. Drill them out and put bolts in later, but essentially that is about where it needs to be. If I get this little bit, obviously there's not much missing off here, and I take that to that edge, everything looks pretty nice. So I'm going to do that now. This piece I prepped up yesterday. We walked around the other side. So come along here. We can see this one. It's the one I did for this yesterday, and there was enough here. Let me grab this piece on the ground. The shop inspector there, checking things out. So this is what it did have, and it did have this step out or stepped in section that the running board bolted up under, of course. So I've deleted that and just gone with a smooth guard. I'm going to have a cutaway running board at some point, which means it won't be one you stand on, so it doesn't need to be all sectioned up into here and heavily bolted. It can just be attached along here. But anyway, so I've got the other one, which I was lucky enough to have, as I said, this guard, so I was able to get this curvature off that one. I have crap everywhere. The joys of trying to get too much done and not taking time to clean up. So, this will go obviously here somewhere. Comes back to about there-ish when it's all put together, and then I'll fill in the gap. So, yes, that's that. Today I had a friend come down and give me a hand to wheel up the roof panels, so they've got a little bit of crown in them now. I'll get those in tomorrow. We also rolled, was it this one? Which will be part of the spat for this guard. Funny on this camera, on this setting, it looks little, but when it comes up it's actually quite big. It comes right out to here. Yeah. So I'll keep going, I'll keep chipping. I'm getting closer though. Yeah. All right. Actually, I might come around. Try and get that angle. Yeah. So I need to bring the car down onto the ground. You can see this dent there. It's basically where I just pushed that down in. It was a little bit low on the radius and I pushed it in to get it stable. Now I can take the boot panel off and work on it. And yeah, I need to bring the whole thing down onto the ground, so as when I weld these roof panels in, I can make sure I've got all of this ridge line nice and straight and true. At the moment we can see a bit of a wobble about the start of the boot there. Doesn't matter, that's basically going to have a cap that comes in and folds over it. So if I give you a look at it from the side, it's an actual full ridge. Yeah, and I was planning on just folding a piece and going over it. Now, what that is made out of, it'll be some sort of trim. I'm not sure yet. All right, I'll keep hacking. Howdy. It's Wednesday night. I've got 2 days to go till my wife's birthday to try and have this all primed up. I know it's about 8 o'clock at night. I'm just out here putting a bit of primer on the doors. I'm thinking where I was up to last time, so I'll pull back a little bit. So obviously I've got everything together now, with the exception of the roof panel. I did the bottoms. I've got floor pans sitting in there. Up. So I did the bottoms of the doors. It's a bit hard to see, we're all rotted out. So that whole bottom section is new. I did it in 2 pieces, an inner and outer, so as I could get the curvature right, sort of get everything to line back up for my skins, so it's not too bad. Yeah, so just slapped a bit of paint on that. I camped out, I think it was yesterday here, and sorry, the light in here is terrible. Did a whole heap of work on this guard and this reverse curve section up through here. What else? A few bits like the little radius up in here. I've still got this piece to fill in. I've got the skins to make, obviously. And I don't know if you can see, you can just make it out in this light that I've blasted the dash. I haven't been able to get any of that stuff, any of that stuff out of the dash yet. because since I had the car, I've welded all this structure in here, and I haven't been able to get up in there, and everything up in there was rusty and stuck up as well. So I thought I'd get it as clean as I can first, and then I'll get that apart later. But for now, it'll look better being in there anyway. So floor pans, I've got half the car back to the rear wheel arches. I haven't done any further yet, and these are just sitting here at the moment. So I'll take those out tomorrow. There's another cross member that goes through here. I'll get that in, and I'll pop these back in. Probably just Cleco them in place for now. And yeah, I'll get these door skins rolled up now, wheeled up, and then tomorrow I can get the door skins in. It's tomorrow's Thursday. Get the door skins on, and hopefully maybe the roof panel on as well. And that gives me Friday to just pick around and clean up things a bit as much as I can and put a coat of primer on it. Oh, and I'm going to drop the suspension out of it now and sit the whole thing down on a body trolley, which is that one there. And yeah, excuse me. I want to get that done before I weld these roof panels in, so as I can see it all properly, and I'm not sort of guessing at it where it's up in the air there and I've got a ridge line through the middle of it. That's going to be the tricky bit, making sure that's straight. So I need it down where I can see it. There she is, a UFO with her ears sticking out. I don't know, can we even see the cutout? Oh, just if I stand on my tippy toes. Howdy folks, what is it, Thursday night? Got a bit of primer on the grill. Unfortunately it wasn't good enough to be re-chromed. Got it down on the ground, low down on the trolley, not quite on the ground. It's not low enough really, but I got one side of the roof cut in. So this is all. Now look at the moon roof. So yes, I still have. All right, I'll pull back a bit. Oh no, that's too dark. I still have a fair bit to go, obviously, and tomorrow's it. But slowly sort of piecing the front back together. Got the bonnet to put on. That's the door skin down there, so the doors are all prepped, which you probably saw yesterday's. And we did the door skins today with my daughter. And yeah, this side's still to be cut in. Walking backwards, I'll probably fall over here in a minute. Alrighty, it's Friday afternoon. I'm getting ready to put some primer over the body, and I've got to put the door skins on. I've got both sides of the roof in. So I'll get all this painted up, or primed up anyway, and assemble the grille and all, headlights and stuff, so as it's semi-complete. And I'll, after I've painted it, I'll pop the floors back in. Can't quite pull back far enough. Can I pull back further? Oh no, wrong way, hang on. No, that's as far back as it'll get me. There you go. Right, the final stretch. Well, the final stretch for this bit. I'll go do it. Howdy folks. It's about 3:30 on Friday night or Saturday morning, and I finally got it all together as good as I can. Unfortunately, I can't make any noise at the moment, so I can't quite get the front clip to fit and the bonnet to shut properly, but yeah, I'll give you a look. So things like that I can't adjust because I can't hammer and dolly anything at the moment. I'll have a look at it out in the sun tomorrow. Look, can't see anything there. I should have brought my light with me. There's a little light here, might yeah, that's a pretty pathetic light. I was just trying to play around with ride height here. It's hard to see here. We'll get that tomorrow. Oh, wrong way. Although it's much better for the light. Here we are, D-Day. It's my wife's 50th birthday today, and we're about to do show and tell on the 40 Chevy. And there she is. So, I'll hand you over to my daughter, and I'll go and get my wife.
Okay, I can do that. So, Dad has spent days and nights working on this car, especially in the last 2 weeks, and it has been quite chaotic. But oh, here they come. And when I say days and nights, I mean days and nights. Oh.
It's my sled. My fat boy. Oh, what are we going to do with it, Benny? Do you have ideas?
We all have ideas.
Everyone's got ideas? That's good. Oh, cool. You chopped it. And sectioned and chopped.
Mum, look up.
I handmade everything.
You handmade it. Oh my God, is it kind of like a glassy...
Yeah, and it had a bubble.
Oh,
I'm not
cool.
trying
A bubble top.
Yeah,
Or glass.
well, I tried to make it flat for glass, but anyway, well, I'll explain it later.
Oh, I like this back. I like the spine.
Yeah, so
That's hard to do, huh?
it's all very
It's all very hard to do.
obviously
Cool.
it's just tacked together.
Yes.
I didn't get time to weld it all off. And
That's all right.
that's fine, we'll go right through the middle.
Down
I think. Howdy folks, so just brought home this 1940 Chev sedan. She's a little bit rough, but you know, it's beaten all to hell. It's got the roof out of it. Floors are out. Something's been living in it. It's been sitting in a garden for years. But most of it's still here. So I'll get all this crap out of it and see what we got.